Stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. I'm here with the coach, John Grant.
I'm here with the vet, Mr. Ian Griffin. Didn't know I'd ever say that again.
Man, it's been a while.
It has been a while. We've had all kind of stuff going in life and in the world.
It has.
It's
It's
good to
been.
be back.
It is good to be back. We're in a. We used to call it the talk, the junk talk.
Correct.
Yeah, we're in a new talk now.
We're both in new places.
Yes, yes. So yeah, it's got interesting.
It really has. We decided that we were going to move to Pittsburgh about 6 months ago. Took a few months to find a place, maybe the lake, maybe here, maybe the lake. So we decided to move 3 houses down from the vet.
Yes. So I got the coach down the street. We walk by each other now,
Yeah.
and we're right here. And right now we're happen to be at Casa de la Griffin
Yes.
and in the garage. And we said, why not break out the podcast?
Why not? We always have things to say.
Yes, there's a lot to say. And for those who don't know, we shut down about like February or January 23. There was a lot going on, and we were just really too far apart to
Yeah, the
make it
distance
happen.
was, I lived out in the country and there was not a good signal. And 1.5 drive minimum
Yes.
to make a few podcasts. This became a little bit taxing. Plus, my man became a world-renowned author, so that kind of helped make the coaching event for a while.
Yeah.
But we're back.
Yeah, we're
Got
back.
a few new things.
We figure we'd talk about a few things that's accomplished in our lives, and we'll touch on a few things and see where the world is at today here in a little bit.
There's
But
been a lot changed in 2 years for sure.
yeah, so Coach, when we left, you was just starting to pick up a health kick a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more. Went from just doing a few little physique shows to actually qualifying in 2023 for the Nationals in 2024 in
Ooh.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Did that, got fit, and now I'm in a new prep right now to go back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this summer in July. So hashtag Pit to Pittsburgh.
So
Since we moved.
Pittsburgh to the other Pittsburgh.
Yes, last year in July was the first time I'd ever been to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So it was pretty
Really?
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of black and gold there.
there was.
Yeah. Yeah, we got black and gold here, but it's not the same black and
Totally
gold.
different.
Yeah.
What's been going on with you?
Well, it's been about the books. I wrote The Birth of a Spy Couple when we were together
Correct.
back in 2022. And then really started focusing on the book. Said, the first one, I said, okay, I learned a lot of lessons and let me see what I can write better and how I can write better and what I want to focus on. And so I did. And I did a couple more spy books, and then I broke out away from the spy genre and did some. Here we go, romance novel.
Well, East Texas romance now.
Southern historical, because my history background, but Southern historical romance novels. Yes.
Very interesting. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you remember, but you gave some books to me to take to the prison, to the inmates at my school. I actually teach at the prison, and they've been passed around. There's one that we can't find, but it's prison. But they were very appreciative of it because their library is pretty limited,
Yeah.
and so it was approved to bring those in. So it's been a good gift for them.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I've done a few donations and I've done some with troops and such. There's a guy that's going to be down here for the Hot Link Festival, Chris Mullen. He does books to troops, which is a pretty good deal, and
Very cool.
I make sure I contribute to that. That's really a cool thing because, well, it's just cool, And I've been a soldier, know what it's like
Yeah.
to pass a book around the tent that makes everybody's read it, But so it's kind
Yeah.
of cool. So
Well, it's been interesting. It's been a big deal because I was like, well, you wanted to write a book. And every time I would talk to you, be like, I'm about to finish another book. And then
Yeah.
there was 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know how many there are now, but
there's
please,
6.
there is 6. That's crazy.
6. I finished one, but it's in the editing phase, and Mrs. Griffin has it, and she is slaughtering it. But she's had it since October. So I've had a lot of people because of the way I left the spy book number 3. I left a big cliffhanger, and people have sent me notes cussing at me saying, "How dare you?" and everything else, and which is all right, But it's the story, and they want to know what's going to happen, and it's all in book 4, and I'm just waiting for my editor to get done. Miss Griffin, wherever you're at.
Yeah, finish that up. We kind of have a similar type situation. You and I both are very alpha males, but we also have both our wives are very strong. What I consider
Yes.
alpha women. Works out really good. So it's pretty funny when it comes to Linda. She's from up north, so she has very good English, proper English, as I say. And so many times today, every day, it seems like I can't believe you say it like that. I can barely even understand you, John
We
Brown.
so similar because my wife, for those that know, she's German, but they take Oxford English. They don't take
Mm,
this watered down East Texas English that we grew up on, and they take Oxford English. So, and then something about a German nature correcting you all the time is definitely going to happen. So that's why she's my initial editor. Then it goes to another editor, another editor. But yeah,
yeah.
I got to get out of her hands
Yeah,
first.
sometimes the progression isn't always in the best way because if you go listen, just listen to the rock and roll songs or rap songs or whatever from the 70s and 80s and listen to them now, it's like we had a whole lot better English in the 70s, 80s, and now it's slang this and slang that. It's
Yeah.
totally different.
But man, you moved down the street a
Yeah,
few months ago, and we walk by each other, we're neighbors, and we're like, let's get this on. And I dusted the equipment off from the attic because one don't ever throw anything away.
yeah,
That's for the grandkids to throw away later. So
right. When we go,
yeah, why do they ever need that? But
yeah, a lot has changed in the world too.
it has, and look back a second at some of
Sure.
our podcasts. A couple of our podcasts. What do you think some of the best podcasts, if you can think back? I got two in my mind that I really think about.
Well, I think we have to, you would definitely have to talk about COVID and
Yeah,
some of the things that went on with COVID. Some of the people that I run into, even in Pittsburgh or a couple I run into Tyler, they always say, man, I remember a specific podcast, but I don't remember always what they are saying. But I do know that we had a COVID situation going on. It was big, the election. I remember once time
yeah.
we actually did podcast from the election at the old house.
We did, with the COVID, you and I made a conscious decision. We're sitting next to each other
Yeah.
and they're sitting there going, "Hey, you got to be 6 feet apart." And we're like, yeah, we'll be all right. We'll be
Yeah.
all right. We'll be all right.
But I think the one that I will always stands out the most that even my wife talks about is the time we went to Cypress Springs and put the pontoon boat in
Oh,
and we did the podcast at the truck boat route
yes,
and to see all the people and talk to them, it was a pretty good deal.
it was. And what I found there was people would ask you who you're voting for, but it didn't matter who you were voting for. They would have took their shirts off their
Yeah,
back. And that's what a lot of America doesn't always see.
yeah,
And they were just nice people out there. It wasn't because they were Trumpers. They were just nice people. And I say this often, sometimes if we just kind of brush away all those little exterior things, we'll find out people were nice to begin with.
well, that's one of the things. I've been back here about 8 weeks. Excuse me, yeah, about 8 or 10 weeks. And one of the things I noticed right off the bat is, driving the old tops, people waving at you again,
Yeah.
seeing people you grew up with, and they already knew you moved here because of social media. And it's just, I think the country sometimes it gets a little bit because of the news. We're hearing about Chicago and Detroit and Philadelphia and New York. But the majority of the country, when you look at the last election with all the counties, is very conservative still. It's just that we don't hear about it a lot because the news media is focusing more on the larger cities.
Yeah, so I'm going to get into that in a second, but I'm going to talk real quick about the two podcasts that I
Yeah.
that I really gravitated, and I think that we really did really great at, and was "Will America Ever Escape the Shadow of Slavery?"
Wow.
We had Ira Baldwin on, we had Don McCush
What a
on,
great,
yeah, and I'm going to go see Ira in a few days,
that's right.
and but that was a great podcast. If you ever go back to YouTube and go look us back up, you can find it in there. This will be on YouTube later, but you'll find it there. And that was some intellectual conversations right there. And the other one I will say, it was dear to my heart, was after we withdrew out of Afghanistan. I said on this
Broke you.
podcast, and I said that either Russia will invade Ukraine or China will invade Taiwan.
Absolutely.
We opened the door. And 6 months later, that's exactly what happened.
We're seeing the residual effects of
Yeah.
not very good leadership at the time, and we're still trying to overcome it.
Yeah. And the other thing I will say, back to hospitality in East Texas and kind of a conservative way of life, I got a son and his family moved from Switzerland here, and as they moved here, they were we were at a store, and my son Mark he commented, he says, "Dad walked into Sam's with Mom, and here's Fabian and Ilaria, and as they come in, this man had a cart, and he goes, "Oh, here's a
Yeah.
cart for you. I'll go back and get my own."
Hmm.
And he goes, it would have never happened in Switzerland. He said, we're back in Texas.
Yeah.
Uh,
I enjoy it. My wife, of course, she's from New York, Western New York, but she's been in the Tyler area for about 20 years. And just the jump from, because Tyler's becoming really congested last few years, but just to jump to here where she's working in Mount Pleasant, it's a slower pace. People recognize the last name and then they tell her stories about, I'm glad they're mostly been good about
yeah.
growing up and knowing about. But the thing is, every single person here, she doesn't have an East Texas drawl,
yeah.
but every single person that she comes in contact with, that she tells me, she's like they're just so nice and welcoming. And we had to unfortunately go to a wake the other day for one of my coaches growing up, and so many of the people there had seen her on Facebook, and they just embraced her and hugged her, and she left, and we left that, and she was like, wow, it's just like this is the reason we moved here.
Yeah. It was, we went when it opened up, and I'm not going to talk all about that, but I will tell you, it was like walking into Mayberry again because everybody you knew or knew you.
Right.
It was just, it was like walking into Mayberry.
And another thing I'll have to say is because my father was so well known here, he passed in 2008. Being in this neighborhood with friends of his,
Yeah.
I don't know, that we moved to with you here, and then also just being in town and seeing people that have told me, remind me of stories of my dad. I heard a funny one that I can't repeat that I heard it this weekend. That's just one of those things that you hope. I always hope to grow up to be as a good a man as my father.
Yeah.
And I think coming back here this time, I think he would be proud that we're back. And I just wish he was, we could call him over for some coffee because I'm sure he would be really talking some politics right now.
I agree. I will say this is, my mom would have ate it up knowing that I'm a mile down from where she lives, and yeah, and I run into people all the time that know my mom very well, and says she would have been proud of you. I'm like, yeah, she would have.
Face work.
Yeah. So it's good stuff being small town.
Yeah.
In our country right now, it has gone through. I remember we sat here on the podcast, and I said I don't think President Trump could be reelected.
And I said he would not be reelected.
And I thought that, and I, I will go in a little bit on this. I'm not going to go on taking a whole lot of sides, but I will say everybody believes that you become president because all your party votes for you, and you become president because you become president because some of the other party moves over to your side.
That is so true. And that was one of the reasons I didn't think that he would be reelected
Exactly.
because of course, there's the base.
Yeah.
But what happened with the African American vote, the Hispanic vote, and the independents shifting to President Trump for the 2024 election was, to be honest with you, as someone that's been studying history like yourself, it was actually amazing.
It was very unique, very amazing. It's a unique time in our history, and there's people that got their own beliefs, I'll get in a minute. But when it came to this, is if you'd asked me 2 years ago, I thought if you had put President Trump as top of the Republican ticket, you would have committed political suicide because I did not think he could turn the Democratic vote and the independent vote,
Correct.
and he turned every bit of it. And so when I hear people sit there and go, well, it's this party, no, it's the nation that voted for him.
Well,
No, at the end of the day,
yeah, the
so
dirty word was MAGA, but what we found out was they were your MAGA Republicans that ended up being the majority of the party. Now the Democrats wanted to make that MAGA something that it really isn't to most of us, just small town USA people. There is a difference in the old school Republican or GOP and the MAGA movement or Trumpsters, as some might
yeah,
call it. But I don't, of course, the way the media's made it made it sound a whole lot more hateful or whatever you might want to call it. But really, it turned out to be we want to be back to the family traditional value of America pride. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think there's a lot of people that say, look, we're getting a little bit too much one way. I'd rather be on traditional values of America.
When we were doing the coaching event a while back, and when we was doing it, we was writing articles, and I wrote an article that when you don't have much of a platform, you have to demonize
Mm,
somebody, and it's a tactic that's often used is to demonize. I mean, why do you need to demonize them? Just let them sit there and be themselves.
yeah,
Uh, at the end of the day, the demonizing is what's crazy because it's the Jerry Springer show.
yeah,
It's what captures everybody. Hey, if Jerry Springer comes on, we're going to watch it because it's just there. It's just non-thinking drama,
correct.
and that's really what our politics turn to instead of substance.
Yeah,
And I I said this before: if the Republicans lose the election, me in the White House, that they have themselves to blame and no
yeah,
one else. If the Democrats lost the election, me in the White House, they have themselves to blame and no one else.
yeah.
And that's where we're at today. And it is what it is. People might not agree with me and they may go burn my books, and that's okay. You know what? I'll write another one, and my family will be proud of me for writing it, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, it's a very unique time because you have a party that literally had decided to go one way and now had been known as the party of the people now has an approval rating of 21%.
Yeah.
Just a few years ago when Barack Obama was president, you never would have thought that there was a transition, there was a change going on. And then a lot of people got frustrated and that's how Trump kind of came in. But when I see the approval rating for this president going up and I see the disapproval rating of a party that doesn't seem to be what we're saying, the word is common sense anymore, I feel good about it.
Yeah. I, I like, there's a lot of things I like. Now, I will say there's some things that I don't like that he's done.
Sure.
But I heard this from a politician, not a politician, but a media person that I watch a lot, and he happened to say something to the effect that just because I don't like everything on the menu at the restaurant doesn't mean I don't go to the restaurant.
That's true.
Now, if I don't like everything on it, I ain't going to the restaurant.
Right.
But if they got something I like, doesn't
Yeah.
mean I got to eat that other stuff. So that's kind of how I see that, and I do worry about maybe we're isolating America a little too much,
Yeah.
and that might build some deep-rooted things that could be problematic for us later. That I do worry.
Yeah.
But I will say this: a few years ago, I coined this phrase that when he won the first time, that we have ventured into the Great American Temper Tantrum, and we
Thanks.
have extended it out. That's a fact. And I have a 4-year-old who cries every day, and when he's exhausted and tired, and he don't hold a candle to some of these people,
Right.
and that is what it is, and we're back there again. And what it reminds me of, you remember we used if people don't remember this, we used to talk about football in here and everything else, and Texas politics, history, everything. So I'm gonna bring it back to the
Sure.
football. Tom Brady and his height. What year would you think he was the top dog enchilada, the best of his career? His team was the best, and everybody knew it.
Later in his career, it seemed like probably the last 7 or 8 years of his career.
We'll take his best year uh, that they go to the Super Bowl and they wind up being the Falcons.
Yeah.
Okay.
33 to 3 behind or something
Yeah,
like that.
when
That
he
was crazy.
came back and just walked down there and owned it.
Yeah.
I don't know who all they played, but we'll say who the worst team in the NFL is that year. We'll say it's the Cleveland Browns.
Sure.
Okay. The Cleveland Browns are sitting there with you and me watching Tom Brady playing the team above Cleveland Browns. And
Yeah.
it's the first quarter.
Yeah.
And in the first quarter, we'll say that team's the New York Jets.
Yeah.
And the New York Jets got a first down. This is what's going on in America today. You see that? He got a first down. They're way better than him right now. You see that right now? You see that? And then they have to punt. And they go, well, okay. And they score a touchdown. They go, well, that's only one touchdown. And the Jets get the ball and they hand it to the running back and he gets 4 yards. You see that? He got 4 yards. They're going to lose that game. You see the Jets are going to lose, are going to win the game, and the Patriots are going to lose. And you go through this all the way to the end of the game. and the final score at the end of the game is 42-6.
Right.
But you have that one fan right there that's sitting in American politics today that claims that the Jets are so much better.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at today with the 21%.
Yeah. It's
Everything.
it's
Everything.
it's crazy that if you look at if you bring up 5 or 6 issues from transgendered athletes to, in males and women's sports, if you look at the Doge thing going, if you look at anything else, if this would have been done, I truly believe if all of these things would have been tackled by Democrats 5 years ago, every one of the Democrats that are acting a fool right now would be on board. It's just
Yeah.
that they do not want Team Orange to have a win. And so the other day when they had that vote for women, men and women's sport, and not one Democrat, I mean, not one, voted to protect women
Yep.
from that men being in the sports. That's when you knew it has nothing to do with the country. It has everything to do with the anti-orange in the party. And you know what? It could flip that way too.
Yeah.
Because we're
Yeah.
so far away from
Yeah.
just what's best for the country. And Chuck Schumer did something this week that has cost him a lot of sleepless nights since then. But we need more of that from both parties.
I thought that was one of the most sensible. And
Absolutely.
people say, well, that's because you're conservative. No, I like to see politicians think on their own.
Yeah.
We've talked this so many times here. People who like, oh, y'all do the coaching event, and yeah, and you're conservative, so we don't pay attention to you. I am 100% belief that we should not have parties. That we should have
Yeah.
people run. We would save America a lot more money. We would sit there and be more honest with people, and I think we would get a lot more done by them.
Yeah.
Will it happen in my lifetime? I'm not. I'm not. I don't believe it. I think he'll have a chance of freezing over before then.
Yeah.
But I don't like parties.
Yeah.
And the other one, I will say, and when it comes to how parties have portrayed themselves, there's not much there you go, hey, grandson, this is where you should aspire to be.
Yeah.
There's not much for me to say that. And then they get power hungry.
Yeah.
And
We talked about this on a podcast before that, George Washington actually said one of the things that he was concerned about, and this was after 8 years of presidency, so the early 1800s, said is political parties going forward over the country could be a problem. And he was right, and we see it more now. There's the cults of each side, and then there's a little bit people in the middle that we're vying for.
yeah,
And depending on the issue that comes up, some of those Dems will go to Republicans, some of those Republicans will go to Dems, depending on, like, say, an immigration issue or something. But that most people are just in their corners, and it's really sad because it takes away from compromise and common sense a lot of times.
I will say, John Brett, coach, where I come from, being in the military for so long, I cannot even fathom putting something even close to the country and having loyalty like that to something close to the country as you would and have a party equate to that.
Yeah.
It's unimaginable to me
Yeah.
regarding that. And because to me, my loyalty is to the country,
Mhm.
my loyalty is to my family, my loyalty is to my community, my friends.
Yeah.
And then after all that, then we're going to say my loyalty is to my cars. And then
Right.
we're going to say my loyalty is to how I grow plants.
Sure.
And then after I get to about 100 things, after the toilet paper that was used that I make sure went in the commode, then we're going to get down into the parties
Yeah.
that I have that much respect for to be what I consider loyal to. I'm more loyal to Charmin than I am to the parties.
Right.
You know,
You, I feel like my loyalty is to my East Texas country values, and I want to do two real quick examples. I have a family member that literally over the last few years refuses to be a part of our family Christmas and things like that just because of the politics. And then another thing that happened this year was my youngest daughter's first time to vote. Her and her boyfriend are absolutely on both sides. One's a Republican, or let's say one's a conservative, one's a progressive, and his family is progressive and our family is conservative, and we kind of played it up a little bit. And they took a picture and posted on social media and said we canceled each other's vote
yeah,
out. And somebody that and one of our friends with someone said, well, I wouldn't allow that person even to come in my house.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we are right now, and it's really sad. I was not very happy with Joe Biden's America. First of all, he was my president, and
It
second of
was.
all, I've never misfriended anyone or unfriended someone on social media just because they were a Biden supporter. But man, there is some things going on right now that's very difficult to see with your own family and friends.
Yeah. We predominantly we have a conservative nature in our
Sure,
family, but I have a son and a young lady that are not so conservative,
sure.
and you know what, they'll always be welcome in my house, and if they ask for anything, I will drop everything to go help them because they're my family. It's just, to me, that's how it should be. Politics is politics, but we got away from the old age of, you don't discuss politics, religion,
Yeah,
and things like that. We got away from that, and maybe there was some maybe there was some genius to that.
I really think my dad used to always say that you don't talk politics, you don't talk, religion in a crowd of people that you really don't know
Yeah,
very well, and you definitely don't want to bring it to, to Easter Sunday or Thanksgiving with your family. Definitely, if you know, that there's some differences there, and but I would say this, you know, you and I are super blessed. I
yeah.
mean, I can't even believe where I live, how I live, the opportunities I get to talk to men and have a loving wife. And my God has been so good to me.
Think about where we came from.
Man, I know I came from a little country the other day because I ran into Brian Applegate's mom and I ran into
Yes.
some others that were from Kesterson and we were talking about it. My mom still lives in the same house, about 1,100 square foot, 3 bedroom little house. And that's where it came from. And I really truly believe that where I came from kind of grounded me in the way I believe. Like most
Yeah.
people, I wasn't told to be Republican or Democrat. I saw my dad as a Republican. I saw my step grandmother. She was a county clerk. She was a Democrat, and they would pick on each other. It was so much fun to see it, and that's what I wish we would go back to. Is
Yeah.
yes, you're a Democrat,
Yeah.
and that's great. And a joke, and then they joke back with you. But literally, some family members have distanced themselves from other family members just because of their political alliance.
Yeah. I don't understand that. And I just think I don't remember that as a kid. I
I
will say
don't,
how
of
we
course.
grew up. I remember not seeing my dad for almost a year because he worked graveyard.
Wow.
And when you go to school,
Yeah.
and he worked graveyard because it was a necessity to work graveyard. And my dad never asked for anything. He just handed his paycheck over to my mom,
Right.
and we lived, I remember not being in the Boy Scouts because I couldn't afford the Pinewood Derby car.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
Pinewood Derby car, is why I wasn't in Boy Scouts anymore.
Yeah.
And, so and I'm not here to make anybody feel sorry for me. That's not what I'm here
Yeah.
for. But I will say, I wish we could have conversations. And that's why we're here, is not to be adversarial, but more to just that if we're going to talk politics, we should be able to talk politics freely
And
and
ask
not
questions on
and
both
not
sides.
and yes, and have a healthy debate. I remember when I first came in the army, I was studying some political science and such, and I came back and I told my aunt and uncle, uh, who were hardline Democrats, I said, I'm thinking about running for Congress one day, and I said this on here. And my aunt goes, "Yeah, we'd love to have you as congressman. We'll vote for you in a heartbeat, just as long as you're a Democrat." And I sit there and thought to myself, I said, damn, I just got kicked out of the family if I'm not a Democrat on their
Yeah.
side. And I'm like, holy smokes,
Yeah.
that we can't put the 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 value of someone's character and their individual above a political party.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love them all the way to their dying days, and I still love them in my heart. But I just sit there and think that, why do we sit there and put party
Yeah.
over somebody you've grown up and loved with and know more about them than anything,
Yeah. And the last few years, because of the January 6th thing that
Yeah.
happened, the Biden becoming president, some Afghanistan, some issues back and forth. There was some heated debates on social media with some people that we grew up with. Even something as similar. There was a debate that I had with a classmate about the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese thing, just being a diverse thing. And of course, I'm white and she's black, and Caitlin's white and Angel Reese is black. It got a little heated. But you know what? One of the things that I decided to do was when we had a reunion was to play up on that. And that's what my dad always did. There were differences that you had in life,
Yeah.
but he might buy you a coffee and talk about it. So I remember buying this person an Angel Reese jersey, and we went for my reunion. I surprised her with it, and we took pictures with it and posted on the internet. And her family and my family and our friends all commented, not just directly, but some even on direct message, how great that was. And you know what? Yes, you wanted Kamala Harris to win, and yes, we wanted Donald Trump to win. But at the end of the day, when you break bread with someone, it should be about your God, your country, but it also should be about the family and
Your
just being
family.
humble. And how's your kids doing? Not
Yeah.
I don't want to be there because of who's president.
I will say, taking it from a sports analogy, is when I was first a sergeant major, when I first became a battalion sergeant major, I had a colonel. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. He's a die-hard Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Yeah.
And that's back when they had Big Ben and everything else. And he's a big Steeler fan, and we would talk trash. But after every game on Sunday, I never called him unless somebody got in trouble or hurt.
Yeah.
But after every game, I would text him and say, "Man, I watched your Steelers, and they look really good."
That is amazing that you
And,
said that.
and that's what I would do. I say, "I
Yeah.
watched your Steelers," and I said, "You know what? Man, I'm sorry they lost. I can't stand them sorry SOBs,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry they lost
You know,
because that's who he liked, and he was my
yeah.
friend. He was my boss, but we were like this, and that's how it's supposed to be."
It should be. And I have a friend, it's funny you say the Steelers. He's been a Steelers fan since I met him here when I was about 16 years old. And we don't talk a lot in the middle of the year a lot, but at football season we do. He always says, "Hey, great game for the Cowboys." And I'll say, "Man, the Steelers look really tough last night. They're going to be hard to beat." And of course, with the Kansas City thing, he knows our kids went to school with with Mahomes and stuff. So he'll say, "Hey, your quarterback did this or that." But you know what? When his father passed away, or when my father passed away, none of that stuff mattered about
Yeah,
messing around. And we need to get back to that with politics.
yeah,
Yes, I'm not a Steelers fan, and he is a Steelers fan. Yes, I'm not a Democrat fan, and yes, they're not Republican fans. But what in the world is wrong with just saying, "Hey, I hope your president does well, like I hoped Biden would do well because it's better for all of us."
yes, yes, yeah. Hands down, it's better for all of them. And I remember when DJT first became president, they were like, "Nope, Katie Bardor." We would throw it out there. We should be wanting the president to do well. We should be wanting the president to do well. And I'll just say this, and people can take this how they want, and we can go in the history part of it because I'm pretty darn good at that, I guess. But you know, everybody's built different. I agree with that, and everybody finds what they're isolated on. But you always see Ian Griffin always have the Texas flag or the American flag on,
Yeah.
and to me, to put somebody else's flag, it's got to be something detrimental.
Yeah.
And I just find it interesting. I see some people that I've rarely seen never seen put an American flag, but they'll throw other countries up like Canada. They weren't right about.
Or you'll see like
Yeah,
be with Ukraine or something.
yeah, they want us to buy maple syrup now from Canada, and I'm just shaking my head because I'm like, peel the onion back just a little bit more and
Yeah.
just get some more into that, and you'll understand it. So.
I grew up with my dad was a huge patriot. And I'm talking about a conservative. He was a patriot of the United States. He loved our country. He taught me that. He was in the military. His family was in the military. My granddad on my mom's side and all my uncles were in the military. And it was always something about, when the flag was there or they playing the Star Spangled Banner. It was a pride thing. Even to this day, it's hard for me to sit down. Even at a football game, if it's a Super Bowl, something I want to stand up when it's playing. It's just there's this thing that we grew up with. It seemed like there was more pride for your country. And I heard recently we're about the only country that I can think of that teaches some of their citizens to hate their country.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot in other countries. They have a lot of pride in countries that are poor or ravaged or famined or even in war, and they will come to other places around the world and still carry their flag with pride. But you know what? It's tough to people that live here that have the opportunities that everybody in the world tries to get over here for and puts down the country. I'll never understand it.
I don't either. I've been to Africa. I've been to the Mid East, and I just remember my last mission to Liberia in Africa, Ebola mission. There's two guys riding on a bike, and they drive by soldiers. They go, "We want to be like you,"
Mm,
and we're like, "What?" And we're just giving them a hard time. Like, what do you mean? And they're like, "Yes, we want to come to America and be like you." And like, wow. And I've been to so many countries that way. And people can, it's kind of like this. You can always find the glass half full, or you can find it half empty.
right. And you know those kind of people. And my wife and I talk about their Eeyores, or there's people that say, you know what, things are tough, failure happens, but what's going to be tomorrow?
Yeah.
And people that look back and worry too much always seem to have issues going forward. I think what we need to do as a country is say, look, we have all these bad things that happen, right? We're at a good spot right now. Where do we want to go from here? And try to somehow realize that the positive aspects of America can create this great world, or it can be a part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because where America goes, a lot of time the world goes.
Yes. I mean, think about some things. We except for the Ruskies putting the Sputnik up first.
Yeah.
But other than that, we were the leader in space. If you look at NATO, who drove NATO, who pushed NATO, you want to really dig into NATO and everything. It was us, and then we were pulling the French along. Come on, French, we need
Yeah.
you in here. We'll look the other way on Vietnam. As long as you come into NATO, that's kind of how we got there. If you really dig back in some history and such. So it's always us being on the forefront. It, you go to Europe. We went to Europe 2 years ago, and one of the things that with the Ukraine Russia thing, the Europeans are like, when are the Americans going to do it? When are they going to do it? When are they going to do something? That's what was being asked over and over. When are they going to do something? They should have already done this, and they're talking about us
Yeah.
going all in, and we're like, yeah, it's not a NATO country.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there, you guys.
That's a really interesting dynamic of what's going on there.
Yeah,
Anyway.
but
We'll talk about that some other time. But
yeah, that's
crazy.
a whole conversation to talk later, because it is layered, and this goes back 40 years.
Yeah.
It's not a thing that just happened overnight. Although the opportunity was there to present himself, happened right after Afghanistan, but it's just
Well, I'm glad
that's
this is a
it.
good opening to. We have no. The cool thing about this is we don't have any plan of we're going to talk about this, and this. So it's really very interesting.
Yes.
It's kind of like let's just turn the camera on and see where it goes, like a conversation. It's one of the things I like about Joe Rogan. He doesn't have notes. So when somebody's going to be in front of Joe Rogan for 2 hours, it's just a conversation. And so I think that's something that we can kind of look at ourselves as we like to have a conversation, and it can go anywhere.
Yeah. So while we're here, let's move away from the politics
Sure.
side. So what's on the horizon for you? You
For,
spoke a little bit about it, but what's
I'm
lay it out
still,
for
this
us?
is year 6 at the prison teaching
Yeah.
the subjects I teach with the history, government, economics, and law, and doing some man stuff out there. I've decided to continue, even though it's an hour there, an hour back every day. It's kind of one of those things. My wife said, you can get a job closer, but are you going to be as happy? So I'm continuing with that. We're renovating house right now in the middle of that. And then we have nationals in Pennsylvania in July. We're going to New York with her family, hopefully for her, we call it her 40th high school reunion.
It's
And
20. It's 20. It's 20. It's 20.
yeah, there you go. But just to be back here and slow down and enjoy life, that's kind of what we decided to do. We're at a really good place to do that. And, we sold a home that we built that we consider kind of be a dream home to move back here to be a little bit slower. They were working my wife to death in Tyler. So now she's seeing half the patients. She comes home, she's like, I'm not even tired anymore. So just to be here, be around friends, reconnected with so many people already. My mom has come over for dinner a few times. I mean, she's a mile and a half away. That was never an option. So our future is just, maybe a Friday night Pittsburgh football game. Maybe I'll be,
Yes.
what do you call it? Maybe I'll have season tickets to the Pirates soon.
Yes.
So
Yes. That's not bad.
I'm embracing it.
Friday Night Lights.
I love these people around here. You never really know how, you've heard it. You never really know what you miss until you're gone. And then when you come back and you talk to people and they run up to you in Brookshire's and give you a hug and they miss you. That's something you don't get.
Isn't that Cinderella song?
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
That's a Cinderella song.
So what are you doing next few months or year?
Well, this weekend I head to Georgia for the Georgia Indie Author Festival in Marietta, Georgia,
Yes.
and that's my first book festival this year. Uh, Talked to the wife and said, we need to get out of the state, expand our reach, things of that nature. And so we're going to Georgia, and then the following month we'll have the Hot Wing Festival here in Pittsburgh.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, we got 15 authors right now that'll be here, and of course,
Right, Rucker?
yes, I went to Nebraska. So yeah, I'm gonna get him to serenade me. You know,
I'm gonna play the guitar with him. We've already discussed.
yeah, because he's big on music, and he's had some songs out on iTunes. Matter of fact, when I was in the gym this morning, I had one of his songs playing when I was in the gym.
It's so crazy. You knew him in military, and then I became his trainer, and then I was on his podcast, and then he was on ours, and then the books are going back and forth. And we finally had a conversation a couple weeks ago. He told me he was coming. I said, you know what? I finally gonna get to shake your hand because I've never met the guy.
He's a great guy. I had the honor to serve with him. He was in what I believe my maintenance unit, and just a great young man.
Yeah.
And let me say this is you can't float nobody's ego better than right. There's a guy writing a book, and on chapter 14 has this character named Sergeant Major Griffin in there.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
You just didn't get mentioned with a fictitious name. You got mentioned.
Yeah. So his book is a cross between Indiana Jones, the Da Vinci Code, and the A-Team.
Wow.
I'm Hannibal.
Oh my goodness.
This is awesome. That's who I am, and I'm Hannibal, man.
Wow. So yeah, he will be down for that, and that'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll be our first Hot Link Festival as Pittsburgh people.
Cool. And and then I have some books. I'm working on 4 books right now, not counting the one that my wife has. I'm working on 4 other ones, and it's been kind of slow, tedious. I'm trying to make sure I get the avenue right and everything. So I'll stick on the spy scene. I'll work on a spy book. I'll stick on this other one I'm working on. I'll work on it. And so I'm trying to have all those out this year. We'll see. I'll have probably 3 of them out this year.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's good times.
It really is.
It is. So and then here for us, 2 of my grandkids have embraced the baseball culture, softball.
Back at the baseball field.
Yes, and so we've been going to practice, and that's been interesting. It's a good life, that's fun. So
one of my coaches passed this last week, Coach Morris, and a lot of the memories flooded back. And I just remember so much our parents. One of the things that we remembered about him is he'd work all day at TXU, come out there and do the hitting the balls to us, grounders and fly balls for an hour and a half, then throw balls pitching for another hour and a half. I never heard the man complain. But started thinking, all our parents, when we were kids, when they got off work, they didn't sit at the house.
Yeah.
They took us to sports. They took us to band. They took us to events at the church. That's a great thing we had.
It's the fields have moved around a little bit compared to how they were structured when you and I grew up. But I took my wife, we took the grandson down there, and I said, right there, I said, we would be dumped off. He would be there all day.
All day.
And all we had was enough money to get a snow cone. And if you want a second snow cone, you better fight over that foul ball.
And you'd play cup ball between games that you played.
Yes.
It's just
you played all day or you fought.
I said something on Facebook the other day. I said the world changed when we quit talking on a telephone with a long cord.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things after that, when we started getting cell phones and cordless phones, a lot of the things changed because, think about it. We grew up with no phone outside the house. The majority of the time, we never were on the phone, and then we had to get permission to talk on the phone. And now everything is right here.
And if you went over a friend's house, you didn't go inside their house.
Yeah.
If you wanted water, you drank from the water hose. You did not go inside the house. You were outside. Get out of the house. Don't be coming in here trashing my house.
Yeah, we were grounded to indoors. Today they're grounded to outdoors.
That is insane.
It is insane. If you would have grounded me to my room, I would have never did what I did to get in trouble again.
I will say this. I am fortunate both my grandson and my granddaughter that are 8'4", outdoorsy people.
That's great.
And I could literally build a ramp out here. He wouldn't jump it yet on his bicycle, but he'd be close because he would go up on it for sure.
Well, less than a week ago, my wife and I were bringing the dogs by out in front of your house, and you had one that just fell out of the tree.
Yeah.
Other one was rolling on the scooter.
Yeah.
and then your oldest, well, Gunner was trying to get her to go back in the tree. And I'm thinking, this is how we grew up.
This is how we grew up. Rub
That's
some
her
dirt
stuff.
on it. Yeah.
Yes.
When she fell out of the tree, I thought she broke her arm.
Um,
She landed on concrete. And I was like,
she's tough.
she's tough. Yeah, she's a tough
A little
girl.
strawberry.
Yeah, she'll be all right. Yeah. So hey,
Yeah.
we just wanted to sit here. And we don't know how often we're going to do this yet. We're not going to have a set schedule or
Maybe you
anything.
guys can help us up to do more. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It depends on how much y'all follow us here, and if you think we suck, I guess you think we suck. You know, and
Well,
everybody's got
I
opinions.
just hope to be right above stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Above the Jets.
Yeah.
We're good enough. We don't have to talk about the Patriots.
Yeah. So you get to be an older quarterback, you end up at the Jets, and then looks like you're going to end up at the Vikings maybe and finish off another Brett to kind of the guy that didn't like Brett Favre is now becoming Brett Favre. Is that what-
He got to become Brett Favre.
That could be a whole podcast on me.
He has become Brett
It's
Favre.
nuts lately.
Yeah, and some of the hypocrisy. I have a friend that I sit there and said, Dallas should not do anything with Cooper Rush. He's going to come back.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to take him. Somebody took him. Shows how much I know.
Yeah.
And now they got to go search for a backup. And I hope they don't go in the draft and going number 2. Let's go get a quarterback.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks long term.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of glitter and gold there because of the way that
Yeah.
NIL is happening in college football. But maybe I've been wrong. I never would have thought Mahomes would have been what Mahomes was. I really never thought there would have been a couple quarterbacks that have shined because
Daniels.
right that they're just all of a sudden you just can't believe. Sometimes people are just winners, and I don't think you really know that till they're in the fire.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Who knows? But I think they got too many other glaring needs to go draft a quarterback right now.
yeah, it's just there's a list.
It's a laundry list. So
That checkbook still hadn't been opened yet, brother. I can't wait for that checkbook.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
So this is just kind of us getting out there and doing a little chat, and we're going to do one here in another week or so and get it out there. And I don't know what we're going to talk about yet. Something will get our fire going.
I know this is going to be on YouTube. Can you comment on Spotify? Can they comment?
I don't know if they can comment or not on Spotify. We'll put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook.
If you do, if you have something you think that you would like to hear us talk about,
Yeah.
throw it out there. I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, topics are if somebody, it's kind of like when you had the DJ. When we went out to the winery recently, and we made the requests with the DJ, so he played the songs you request. So I think maybe we'll look at it that way. If somebody says, "Man, I'd love to hear the coach and the vet talk about," let's do it.
Ian Griffin's book number 3.
There you go.
Ian Griffin's book number 3. There we go. Yeah. Hey, I'll talk about that all day long. Yeah. I have no problem, man. But
Well, that's an accomplishment. You and I, you pushed and said we both are going to write a book in the next year. Well, one did and one didn't. I did start, and after about 11 pages, I'm like, what do I do now?
well, this is something I will say. I will not. I will never give the names out. But there's like 6 people in this county that's hit me up that are in some phase of writing a book, and I will say the same thing I tell them is they go, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Da, 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 da. And my best advice is find one topic that you're comfortable with that resonates in your head so much, and you just write about it.
Okay, get it out.
And people will go, well, it's trash. I'm like, well, what do you think all first drafts are trash? It's going to get chopped up a bunch of times, and you can always add fluffs and stuff in it. You can always add what I call it adding color. Is because sometimes I'll write from A, and I'll get when it's all in my mind going fast. I'll write it through, and I'll come back and say, now I need to add the color.
Yeah.
And he say he smiled. My wife hates it when I say he smiles. He giggles. And she goes, you use chuckle too much and you use slowly too much. I'm like, yeah, I probably do. But that's why she's there.
Yeah, well, that's why my wife loves your wife so much because she's like she's just like me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, let us know, and glad to be back. And just with Coach Nivette, glad to be back in Pittsburgh. And man, what this is just it's crazy, really.
It's a good time.
It really is.
It's a good time to be American. Boy, there are people realize it now. I think it is. In my heart, I believe that. I think there's a lot of great things. I think there's more positive than there is negative. And you know what? 4th of July this year is going to be fun.
Right. If you don't like it, maybe Rosie has a bedroom for you for the weekend. I don't know.
Yep. Or maybe you should run for Congress and find some things to bring to the table.
There you go.
So yeah. So from the coach
To the vet.
stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned.